Jonathan Harris is a Democratic political commentator, and we're happy to have him on the show as always. Mr. Harris, thanks very much for coming on. So you often hear the claim, the blanket claim, and as I said in the open, I'm not making the claim that immigration is always bad. A lot of great immigrants here, some of them are my friends. But the idea that the more people you bring into this country, especially poor people, the richer you get, is a lie. There's no evidence to support it, and the evidence outlined tonight shows why. So why are we still lying about this?
I don't think that that's the claim. I don't think everybody's saying that immigrants are all good. They're all good. There's nothing bad that comes with them. I think obviously people understand that there is sometimes crime, sometimes things that comes with them. But I think what they're saying is that by and large, they're less likely to commit crime. They take jobs that not only the typical argument you hear that Americans won't take, but also jobs that specifically stimulate our economy. They take less in taxes, tax using programs. So I think that's actually the claim, not the claim that they're...
I mean, clearly there are a lot of very successful immigrants and start a lot of companies, and that stimulates the economy. But I'm talking about immigrants, and this is, I think, more than half, who don't have a high school education and who are working for the lowest wages that we pay in this country. What jobs do they take that, quote, stimulate the economy?
But a lot of those jobs specifically are service jobs, they're farming jobs, they're jobs like in hospitality, for example. Hospitality jobs doing housekeeping services, things like that. These are jobs that actually stimulate the economy because if Americans were going to take those jobs, they'd have to pay far more than they pay now.
Oh, they'd have to pay a living wage. So instead, they pay less than someone can live on and then offload the costs onto the U.S. taxpayer in social programs.
Well, that's something that's a whole nother problem.
No, it's the same. It's the same problem. So if I'm an employer, would I rather hire you, who's a college-educated American, and pay you enough to live? Or would I rather hire someone who's used to making $3 a day and then just encourage him to go on food stamps and get housing vouchers, which is what we do?
Well, again, that's capitalism in this country. They do that with Walmart does that with their workers. All companies do that with their workers. Really? They pay them the bare minimum, and then we get stuff.
Why is it capitalism to offload my labor costs onto U.S. taxpayers without telling them? That's not capitalism. That's a criminal scam.
That's the way that our system works.
But that's not capitalism.
But how many companies pay workers? Amazon, McDonald's, all these companies that pay their workers far less, and then they have to go get government assistance, and we pay for it.
I'm very aware. We've done many segments on this show.
Illegal immigrants.
So I guess it's not just illegal immigrants. You're absolutely right. They make it much worse, though, by flooding the labor market at the lower end, and they lower the price of labor because businesses can do this because people will work for less. My question, though, this is all supply and demand, Econ 101. My question is, why is the Democratic Party making excuses for this and defending those people who do that? Why are they defending Jeff Bezos and the big employers who are hurting the poorest in our society?
That's not what they're doing. What they're doing is they're responding to a conservative Republican Party that demonizes illegal immigrants as if we're not all here because of illegal immigrants or immigrants, depending on how you view history.
But it's an economic question. It's not, and there's all this moralizing.
But it is partially
I'm a good person. No, look, this is economics. There's a moral component, but ultimately it's how much does it cost to employ somebody?
Right.
And if someone from the third world is willing to work for a lot less, why wouldn't that shaft poor Americans? They can't make that amount because they're not living, they're not used to the same standards of living. I mean, do you see what I'm saying?
Of course, I see what you're saying, but what I'm saying is this is not a problem that solely affects illegal immigrants. What you're talking about is a problem with low wages overall, which I actually agree with you on. Low wages overall are bad for this country because taxpayers get stuck with
have you ever wondered
for the services that their workers go to the American government
Okay, so we're in agreement on that, but let's connect a few dots. Do you ever wonder why Nancy Pelosi and Kirsten Gillibrand and Cory Booker and all these supposedly liberal people are on the same side of the argument as all these big low-wage employers, the chicken plants, Walmart? Have you ever noticed how they're on the same side of the debate? Do you think it's an accident?
That's actually
It's because they're all for transgender bathrooms, or could there be something deeper going on?
That's actually usually conservatives that support businesses like that.
Again, it has been, you're right.
Right, but what liberals are doing is they're actually countering conservatives who demonize immigrants, illegal and otherwise.
This phony, like, you're being mean to people from Latin America or whatever, this moral stuff.
The head of the Republican Party, the President of the United States, is the one that spews lies about immigrants constantly.
What I said
they probably
not a lie.
care.
It's real. And has it ever occurred to you that maybe you're doing the bidding of big companies, you specifically in your party for sure, the bidding of big companies that are lowering the price of labor
But
in this
my
country
party
and
is
hurting people.
specifically asking for these companies to pay a higher living wage so that these people do not go to the government for services. So I don't know how we're doing that.
Because they're
That's
making it
specifically not what
possible
we're
for
doing.
millions of poor people who will work for much less than Americans will to live in this country.
But when we're saying that we want illegal immigrants in this country to be documented, to be verified, so that we know that they're here, and we want people to be making a living wage, I can't understand how you're making that we're fighting for lower
more
wages.
people willing to work for less causes the price of labor to drop. If you have an overabundance of something, its value falls. That's why sand is cheap.
Absolutely.
This is supply and demand.
But that's if you take part of the argument. The full picture of what progressives are doing.
Let everybody in.
No, not let everybody in. Who gave out amnesty? That was Reagan. That's you guys letting everybody in.
Me guys.
That's
1986. You're not going to get me to defend the Reagan amnesty. I'm just saying, look, if you want to take the side of Amazon against normal people.
That's not at all what we're doing. That's not at all what we're doing.
Yeah, it's very much what you're
asking for
doing.
a living wage, asking for these people to be documented is the exact opposite of that.
Mr. Harris, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good to see you tonight.
Good to see you.